Hello, so welcome everybody. We have got Julianne Barnes this morning. So Julianne is the head of HR for IQEQ, an investor services group. If you want to learn a little bit more about them, I will link them below. So Julianne, just tell us a little bit about your role and your team members, etc.
Sure. So I'm the head of HR for the UK and Ireland cluster. So that's about 450 people that are split across London, Newcastle, Dublin, Shannon and Belfast. The HR team is split between London and Belfast as well. So there are 3 people in the HR team in Belfast. And then we've got 4 in London, and that includes 2 recruitment specialists.
Wow.
So
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so the topics that we're going to discuss today, we are going to be talking obviously about the challenges that we've all had throughout the COVID period, and in particular your challenges as a business and in your role, remote management, how you've tackled that, obviously. We are also going to touch on juggling childcare whilst working from home, especially in the midst of lockdown. And finally, we're going to cover some advice for fellow HR leaders in any sector that you're in. We're going to be covering that. So let's go straight into question 1 then, Julianne. So obviously every business has had their own challenges throughout the past couple of months. What would you say your biggest challenge has been?
I think since the outbreak, our absolute priority as a business has been to put our employees first and to ensure that they were kept safe. So playing our part in slowing the community spread and continuing to provide our clients with the highest standard of service. And achieving that has certainly been a challenge, but I think we had good business continuity plans. Our group technology and operations teams worked really hard and really adapted to get everybody set up across the business to work from home. So we were able to switch the vast majority of our staff to full-time home working within a matter of days. So we're really proud of that fact, that we were able to maintain our business as usual status throughout the entire crisis across all 23 of our jurisdictions. Of course, the business hasn't been immune to COVID-19, and there are certain service areas that have felt the impact of market disruption more than others. But overall, we're holding strong, and there's a number of new opportunities that are emerging.
Wow, no, that is impressive. In a matter of days, everybody was working from home, fully equipped. Wow.
Yeah,
that's really impressive. And obviously, as a manager, how do you ensure that remote working? How do you keep track of that sort of things like that?
I think our processes haven't really changed. So when you look at recruitment, for example, we've always conducted telephone screening. We've always had technical tests that are completed online. Now, clearly, we've had to make a lot more use of video interviewing, particularly during this period. But we were using video interviewing before anyway. But this has just needed to be increased where meeting candidates face-to-face hasn't been possible. It's actually been easier in some respects to get interviews booked in because candidates and managers have had better availability. And, of course, there's no need to travel to interviews. So we've made sure how to factor virtual interviewing as well, where we need to review those that need and require reasonable adjustments that are made. So we've adapted our processes accordingly. So, for example, if they were hearing impaired, we would always use video and not telephone. In terms of onboarding, again, I think we've always had a smooth process in place that's proved resilient to COVID-19. So all of our contracts and onboarding documents are sent electronically. All our background screening is completed online. Our group induction training for new joiners is usually conducted in the form of a webinar, where we bring together new colleagues across multiple jurisdictions. The main change and challenge has been from a technology equipment perspective, but we arrange for all the tech to be sourced, set up and tested by IT before being couriered to people's homes. And then IT run a separate induction session with each new recruit to ensure that everything is working as it should be.
Wow. No, that's really good. Obviously, IT have had a huge role to play in the past couple of months then.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Gosh. So obviously you touched on onboarding then and remotely and what you've done to make sure those processes run smoothly. So that's great that you've already had that in place, that everything was online, background checks, everything was already, you know, available to you. So that's amazing. I mean, obviously those processes can still be done virtually, but how do you keep momentum in the team remotely without physically being there to, you know,
Yeah, I think when we first went into lockdown in the UK and Ireland, we implemented telephone wellbeing check calls with all 450 people in our cluster to ensure that everyone was okay, coping with the change, and just seeing how people were feeling and responding. We've been encouraging all of our managers to use video technology for one-to-ones and team meetings, just so that they can still see the people that are working for them. Some geographically diverse teams, such as our group support functions, were already used to working in that way and using video to connect with their colleagues. But it has been crucial for maintaining close contact and morale within those teams that we used to sit in right next to one another and having conversations over the desks. Group-wide, IT have also introduced Microsoft Teams during the lockdown period, so its chat function has proved really popular in place of being able to just have those conversations over the desks.
That's interesting. The chat function, yeah. I'm sure that we've been using WhatsApp, and I'm sure that Teams would probably be easier actually because you're already on there. That's a good tip actually.
I think a lot of the teams have got WhatsApp chats as well, to be honest. I think it's just making the best use of the technology that's available.
Definitely, yeah. You can get everybody from different channels now, I suppose, can't you? You can always try somewhere.
Yeah.
No escape. So, I mean, I hope you don't mind me saying, Julianne, but you are 35 weeks pregnant at the minute. So it's quite an achievement what you've managed to do in the past couple of months. With obviously the new arrival imminent for your second, but how have you juggled? Obviously, I'm a mum as well, and it's been tough. But how have you juggled the childcare, working from home situation?
I'm not going to lie, it was very hard at first. Our usual childcare plan was that I would look after my daughter, who is now 2, on a Monday, and then my parents and my parents-in-law rotated Tuesdays. My husband also worked 4 days, so he would have her on a Wednesday, and then she was in nursery on a Thursday and Friday. When lockdown first happened, obviously the nurseries closed and we couldn't see parents or in-laws, so it meant that we both had to do shifts working from home. Now, luckily, both IQEQ and my husband's company were very supportive of working parents anyway, but particularly during this period. So the way that we approached it, I would work 7 till 10 each morning, and my husband would look after my daughter. I would then log off at 10 o'clock and have her until 12:30, when I would put her down to have a sleep. And then my husband was logging on at 10 in the morning, working till 2, before he would then log off and have a lunch break. And he would wake her up from her sleep, and then have her until I then logged off at 3 o'clock. So when I put her down for the sleep, I would log back on, work until 3 for the day, and he would then continue working until 6 o'clock, and I would just tend to catch up on things in the evening. So the key for me was communicating with everyone at work my new hours, so that diaries could be appropriately managed for meetings and things. Obviously, things are much easier now as we have additional family support, but it was really tough at the beginning. And I think you just have to remind yourself that everyone was in the same boat and facing the same issues.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I think once you've become a mum, you realise, you know, how difficult it is. And then throwing work in the mix of that, it was just completely new world for a lot of us. But it's great to hear that how supportive both, you know, your husband and your business, IQEQ, have supported you through that. So that's great to hear. And obviously you as a manager, you can also relate to other parents in the team and how they're coping, how they're managing their times and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly been a challenge. Um, so, you know, with that being said, what needs to happen to make it easier for parents in a business to balance family and work commitments? So, what, you know, what do you think needs to happen going forward in our new world so that everybody can balance that?
I think having strong, flexible working and working from home policies that are clear and consistent for employees and managers to follow. I think to any head of HR or HR manager in the next 12 months, the key thing is don't try to force staff back. You know, I think these are unprecedented times, and I think we have to accept that the world of work has changed forever. We need people to feel safe and comfortable when they're returning to the office, and to know that their well-being is at the forefront of the organisation that they're working for. There will be more requirements for flexibility and working from home as standard now. I think people will expect that if they're moving to a new organisation, or even if they're remaining in their current organisation. And I think we need to embrace that and the positive impacts that it's created on people's work-life balances. I think if companies don't do that, then it's going to severely impact both attraction and attrition.
Definitely. No, I completely agree. And I think you're right. A lot of, you know, companies have already implemented it, but if they haven't, if they want to recruit anybody new into the business, this is kind of what is expected now. You know, people's well-being is really at the forefront of life now. I mean, you've touched on it there, you know, on parents and advice to them, but what would be your advice to any other head of HR manager, perhaps, for the next 12 months? Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen, but what would your advice be?
Just don't try to force staff back. You know, I think that you would be dealing with a lot more cases of people experiencing anxiety and depression and not performing at their best. As I said before, I think we need to accept that these are unprecedented times, and the world of work has changed forever. So we want people to feel safe and comfortable when it comes to coming back, so that they're going to perform to their best.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, actually. As soon as once they feel safe and they feel like the company values them, then, you know, that's it. You'll work, won't you? You'll perform.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Julianne. And I wish you all the best and enjoy your maternity leave. Hopefully the world will be a better place when you return.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, and it's been lovely talking to you. Obviously, if anybody is interested, I'm going to link IQEQ below so you can have a read up about them. And the full interview will be available on YouTube. So thank you very much. And
brilliant. Thank you.